Greetings survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here with the latest news from Rust Island, including more details on spawning at campfires and a new pilot hazmat. But first, a roundup of all the most important changes to Rust in this month's nerfed, buffed, balanced update, which just dropped. And I'll try to make this as quick and painless as I can, but there's a lot to get through, so listen very carefully. I shall say this only once. This patch was heavy on adjustments and quality of life, but there was also some new content, and not all of it was DLC, you'll be pleased to know. First of all, the jungle was spat on and polished with a very large sleeve to address some of the feedback since it was added thusly. There's a new wild hemp model which is taller, has a flower and is therefore easier to spot. Some new rock formations have been added to the jungle with more ore node spawns. Berry bushes have their own jungle populations. Cars and bikes spawn on jungle roads. There are some new jungle trees that didn't make it into the main jungle update, and players won't spawn directly in the jungle anymore. All in all, you should find finding stuff in the jungle a lot easier, including yourself. Incapacitate darts are a bit less OP with a dimmed screen rather than a full blackout and a slightly shorter duration, and almost all dark volumes will look dark when viewed from outside, and players inside them looking out won't have the whole world darkened for them. This is a brand new system for handling lighting in Rust and should make things a lot fairer for everyone. There are two new crafted silencers, soda can and oil filter, with the standard one you're used to becoming uncraftable and only available in elite loot crates, and there were a bunch of other tweaks and changes, including new seat swapping keybinds which will let you go straight to the driver's seat for instance, and a customizable interaction crosshair so you can remove the text and icon if desired. There's also a new internal targeting attachment which takes up a weapon slot but allows you to use the ping system without binoculars. The HBHF range can now be adjusted. Neon signs have an input for each frame to allow choosing between them. Propane explosive bombs don't require explosives to craft anymore. Heaters on the oil rigs now provide comfort. Water pump health has been doubled, and there's a quicker deploy animation for the LR300. MP5 durability has been increased, allowing for an additional 200 rounds to be fired before repairing. Vending machine orders can now be edited without having to relist them. Shelves can now be picked up if they're empty, and small boxes can be placed on wall shelves. Wires, hoses and pipes can be snapped to 90-degree increments by holding shift, and there's been a general polish to electric lighting to increase quality across the board. Building block placement had a quality of life pass this month to get rid of a load of pesky line of sight errors that shouldn't have been there, and 34 new floor and ceiling wallpapers have been added as a separate DLC on the store, although there are a standard 8 unlocked as default for anyone to use. There's a new keybind to let you drop items in different directions around you instead of just in front by simply dragging and dropping them from your inventory with it in the direction you want them to go. The UI and functionality for authorizing friends on TCs has now been extended to tugboats. There have been some changes to cooking and mixing table UIs too, with recipes you can currently afford appearing at the top of the list and recipe text colors reflecting which ones you have the ingredients for. You can upgrade wooden external walls and gates into Adobe versions directly if you have the needed ingredients in your inventory, rather than having to upgrade them to vanilla stone first and then reskin them. And as mentioned before, you'll now be able to demolish a bunch of large deployables within 10 minutes of placing them, as long as you have TC auth. These include large furnaces, refineries, watchtowers, barricades, turbines, large pools and water catchers. The Industrial Lights pack's been upgraded to include the new blue variant for free, and there's now a bee catapult bomb that creates a number of swarms at the point of impact. The advanced and pure versions have been added for warming, cooling, harvesting and crafting teas. Wooden barricade stack size has been halved from 10 down to 5 to force more strategic use, and barricades on train tracks will no longer stop trains completely. There was a rebalance to armor slot chances with and without teas to bring them more into line with what was originally intended. You can see the before and after numbers here. Bow and blowpipe turrets were far too much fun, so they've been nerfed with reduced damage and increased reload times, subject to change, mind you, as the effect of this is being monitored. There was an actual performance buff in there too, it appears, with a rework to how ground foliage is rendered. It's now done more by the GPU and the culling's better, meaning your system won't spend as much effort on grass you can't see. You should notice better performance when travelling at speed, which is always a bonus. The camera doesn't roll around now when using boogie boards and inner tubes, so should be less seasickness inducing. It still does so on the DPV, but there's an option to also turn this off now. As mentioned last week, fruit, veg and eggs will now spoil within 48 hours outside of a fridge and will all turn into a new delicious looking generic spoiled produce item. The loot respawn times on high pop servers will now be capped to prevent it getting silly, and you can read all about this here on the dev blog. Note that for server owners there is also a convar to adjust this or even turn it off. And if you want to know what the team have been doing about cheaters, then there's a nice write-up on the blog with pictures. They've doubled the number of staff on their support team this year. True, that could mean that there are now 2 of them, but I don't really know. Premium servers seem to be doing the trick, server-side culling's also helping, and they've so far paid out $261,000 in bug and exploit bounties. EAC are also putting in some effort to target recall cheats, and there's more, but they're obviously a bit tight-lipped about it. You can see all the graphs to show this stuff is working on the dev blog, but how have you found things lately? Have you noticed a drop in cheaters? Let me know below, please. For admins, there's now allocation tracking in the server profiler to help catch anomalous memory consumption, and if that's something that interests you, then please refer to this month's dev blog for full details. There's also now a command block fresh out of
Hack Week Limbo.
And for full details of how this works, please see last week's vid. It's basically a new creative tool for server owners to store and execute any server commands when triggered. And from the 25th of June to 2nd of July, there will be another round of Twitch drops for the Spanish-speaking Rust community with Bellum Conquest. To the future and beyond now, and we have a lot to look forward to, including a complete new menu rework, for which I have actually been able to get some work-in-progress images, as you can see here. Needless to say, this is very early and much subject to change, but you can get a flavour for how the layout is changing. No doubt we'll get to see a more polished version later in the month. And in July's patch there'll be the introduction of a party system that will let players party up and join a server en masse. And as mentioned last week, a new system to allow friends to spawn at campfires is coming, and we've had a bit of clarification as to how this will work in the commits. Spawning at a campfire will trigger the cooldown at nearby sleeping bags and fires like a regular sleeping bag, and the campfire will now keep a list of the last 5 players to spawn at a campfire, and if a player's in that list, they cannot spawn at the campfire. We should get more details as this month goes on, so stay tuned. A new set of Abyss-themed storage barrels, complete with seaweed, are being added in July as well, and I'm told that these will be added free to the Abyss pack for those of you who own that one. In other work, Scientist AI is the next AI to be worked on, and there's a lot going on to tweak that. The naval update is slated for November and will include such things as floating cities and boat building, which are the current focus. And there are yet more DLC items mentioned in the commits this week, such as a decor lighting DLC with a chandelier and a pilot hazmat DLC, which will include an M15 pistol. So, lots to get your teeth into soon, and I will keep you in the loop on development, so do stick around, won't you? Right, you are now up to date. Leave a like and a sub. Check me out on my socials, including my Steam group, and you can support my work here via YouTube membership, super thanks, and on Patreon. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio. I shall say this only once.